Thank you to Zite for sponsoring this video. Every AI app builder can generate a demo. But what happens when you add real users, set permissions, and push actual business data through it? I put Zite to the test that most of these tools fail, and I'm going to show you exactly what happened. And there's a really interesting feature that sets Zite apart, but more on that later. Let's put this to the test. We're going to click App to use Zite to build a production-ready business app using AI. Something cool is you can add an integration. So you can add a database, you can add Google Sheet, Airtable as a backend, Slack, OpenAI. There's multiple integrations that you can connect. You can also attach files. We can select our design style. So I'm going to go with Chirp. I think that's a nice, clean style. And then for the model, you can choose Mini, Pro, or Max. I'm going to go with Pro to see how the default model does. Finally, you can either just build it right away or plan it first. I'm going to click plan it first because I generally find that planning just gives us better results when we're building anything with AI. So we'll let it plan first and then jump into the actual creation. Right off the bat, I like the design of this interface. Yes, it is familiar. So if you've used any other tools like Lovable before, we're going to talk a little bit more later in the video about how Zite is similar to and also a little bit different from tools like Lovable, but I like the design. So it's asking some questions ahead of time. I like this a lot as well. This is something that I've been seeing using Claude Code, for example. Claude Code will ask questions and give you these multiple choice options to help it plan before actually building a feature. So what sponsor information do we need to track? Basic info, detailed info, comprehensive tracking. So I would say, why don't we go with B's? What stages or statuses should the sponsorships move through? So I'm going to say, why don't we say sales pipeline? Now we have a nice plan. They suggest connecting to Zite database. So there's a database built into the platform because we didn't connect the database already. So I like that it's going to do that on its own. I like this plan, so I'm going to click build and have it start actually building. Now we get to approve our database. So we can see, okay, sponsors, what information is it going to have? And then the contacts, which is linked to a sponsor. This is going to be familiar. This kind of feels almost like Airtable, the way it has linked records and it's using that terminology. So if you're familiar with that, again, you can connect Airtable as a backend as well, or Google Sheets, but it's cool that it's able to just create this database for us and have it be an all-in-one platform, which I think is really important for especially non-technical users, and being able as a professional to build apps that you can use inside of your business without having to understand the technical parts of connecting a database. Something that we're going to do a little bit later is talk more about the workflows. Now, this is something, as I mentioned before, we're going to talk about what makes Zite different from tools like Lovable as well as similar. So similar is that, on the left side, we have our chat. It's going to build it out. It does have a backend integrated, but something that makes it different is that it has this workflows tab. So this is giving us the ability to add functionality to our app and see the step-by-step workflow of what's happening. This is something in tools like Lovable, you don't have this visual workflow, so it can be really hard to know what's going wrong or debug or figure out what is actually happening in the backend. What are the steps? So that's something that I really appreciate that Zite has included in this app, and that it allows especially non-technical users to better understand what's happening. So with Zite, you're not just hoping that the AI did what you asked and that it's working the way that you wanted. With Zite, you can actually go in and get transparency into the workflows and then into the database, which I'm really excited to show you in a second what the database actually looks like, because it's a really cool spreadsheet-like interface to interact with the database. And you really have insight into what is happening inside of your app. And it's not just a black box interface where, you put out a prompt and you hope that it works. So the promise of Zite is that this is production ready out of the box. It's going to take care of that backend database and logic for you. You're going to be able to visually see it if you need. And then when you're ready to publish, you're going to be able to have your business use it. So that's the promise. I'm really curious because this is actually a problem that I have in my own business running No Code MBA, is managing sponsorships, and being able to have an app that is like a custom CRM for this would be really helpful for me. And I think a custom CRM is one of the most valuable use cases of AI in general, because everyone has different CRM use cases. And for most businesses, if you're not a massive company, you don't need to use a really complicated CRM tool that is going to have a lot of features that you probably don't need. And I think being able to build a custom CRM for your specific use case is really valuable. It's something that AI is really good at, and I think is a really good use case if you want to try out Zite. Think about for your own business, like, can I recreate my CRM and then maybe even save some money versus what you're paying your current CRM software? It created the first version. We can see here on the right side, the preview of our actual app. It created the database, the backend endpoints, which I'm excited to show you what that looks like. And this is what I think really separates Zite from other tools I've used. Added a dashboard with pipeline metrics and charts, created a sponsors table with search and filtering, which we're going to test out in a second, built contact management system for tracking multiple people per sponsor, and implemented full sales pipeline. Okay, so here we are in the preview. We're going to go to the database first, and then the more exciting workflow in a second. So first, the database. And this looks very similar to Airtable. So if you've ever used Airtable before, you're going to feel really comfortable with this. So we have on the bottom different tabs, kind of like Google Sheets tabs on the bottom. And we can see we have our sponsors tab and we have our contacts tab. This is really nicely done and just nice. It's a nice design. This is another really cool feature that I'm not going to test out in this video, but you can actually open up your database in ChatGPT or Claude or Cursor. So if you just click this, you can connect the MCP server to ChatGPT, for example, and you can do the same thing with Claude, and there's instructions on how to do this. And then you can use Claude or ChatGPT to actually ask questions about your data. That alone is a really cool feature. Again, not something that I've seen other app builders offer, and I think kind of shows the kind of attention to detail that I'm seeing here inside of Zite. So let's check out the workflows tab. This is really, really cool because, as I mentioned before, with other AI app builders, you really have a black box and you ask the AI to do something, you have to test it out. You're not able to actually see what is happening step by step. So if we go ahead and click, like create contact, for example. So this is the workflow that is creating a new contact for a sponsor. We can see exactly what's happening. Now, this is a pretty simple workflow, but we can view the inputs. So we can see name, email, phone number, role, sponsor ID, and then we can see it's getting added to the database. It's creating a contact field and it's showing us exactly what's happening. This one's a little more complicated. This is getting sponsors, so filtering or fetching the sponsors with filtering by status. So again, this would be like a trigger, which is the status and search. Then it's going to go into the database. And then there's a loop where we can see it's getting all the contacts where the sponsor equals the sponsor ID. And then it's using code to combine the sponsor info with the number of associated contacts. So again, just being able to visually see this is super cool. You can also go into code mode. So this is what you normally would see in, an app like Lovable or Bolt. You're going to see a code. If you're using Cursor, you're going to see code. But the preview here, it's basically translating the code into a workflow, and you can understand a lot better what's actually happening. And then finally, there's a history tab here, so we can see how many times this workflow was run. This is helpful for debugging and seeing, exactly what's happening step by step. So now you have a better understanding of what makes this, different from tools like Lovable and what makes it similar. So let's actually test it. And this is the real test. Okay, it built this. We have some cool workflows, but does it actually work? And am I going to have to go back and forth with the AI a ton to actually make it work and debug it? So we have some data here in the dashboard because it added some sample data here just for test data. So that's why we see, okay, pipeline value, active deals. We can go to sponsors and we can see there's a few sponsors here. So if I add a sponsor, so let's say I add a sponsor and that sponsor is Fun Technology Company. And the deal value is $5,000. Status is a lead. So now we have our new lead here, Fun Tech Company, 5,000. It's a lead. That's great. And then if I go to the dashboard, we can see now there's 4 active deals. Now, the one thing that I don't think I can do is change the lead status. So I'm saying overall looks good, but I don't see a way to change the status. Can we add a Kanban board view? Again, you can choose between build, plan, and chat mode. And then you also can see your integration. So we have the Zite database integrated. We can't add Google Sheets or Airtable as the database because we have the Zite database. You can only choose one, but it's really cool that you can use Google Sheets as a database. I think that's a really, really strong use case because so many people are doing work in a Google Sheet. So some of you might be coming from tools like Webflow or more traditional no-code tools, and you want to build a website or a dashboard. And I think the difference between those is a little bit more obvious in that it's just fully AI, and AI is able to build 100% for you. Versus when you think about Zite versus a tool like Lovable or Bolt or these AI app builders, that's where I think you want to think about, okay, where are the differences? It's in the workflows, it's in the integrations, and it's in some of those details and transparency into what you're seeing. So it's a little bit different if you're coming from, traditional no-code tools versus coming from other AI app building tools in terms of the differences. All right, so now it added this pipeline. So hopefully this will work now. So if I go into the pipeline, this was that new lead I just created. So I can take this and drag it into closed one, for example, and then it'll update, and that works. And then I can click in and actually go into the sponsor. I can directly make edits, and then we can also add contacts to be referenced, connected to the company here. The final test is actually seeing if we can publish it. So with Zite, there's a couple different ways to publish. One is anyone with the link can access it, no sign-in required, or restricted access. And this is for building portals, etc. So I think we do want restricted access because this is a pipeline CRM that I don't want other people to see. So the way to do this is we can pick a database to store user data. So we can say, okay, we want to store it on the contacts field and the email. So I'm going to click done. And now on the bottom left, we just have to build that feature. So build that user authentication. We're going to add the login. It included that there with the information we just added. So I'll say add a login. So only set that nocode.mba can access. So after just 2 prompts, I was able to get the user authentication to show up here. Something else to show you is there's login settings. So we can see authentication can be done over Magic Link or sign in with Google. We can set sign up to only allowed domains. So here I've set it up to nocode.mba only. And then you'll just want to go ahead and click publish. I already clicked it. So now I can see the link is ready for me to test. So let's test this and see if I can actually log in with my email. So I got a check your email link. So let's see if I have a magic link that I can actually log in with. I got an email. I can click confirm email. And here I am in the CRM. So it worked perfectly. We have user authentication working. And we have the ability for me as second no-code MBA to come in. I can log out, or I can go in and go into the pipeline and manage everything right here in one place. Thanks for watching. Click the link in the description to go and try out Zite for yourself. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions or if there's anything you want me to cover in the future. And subscribe to our YouTube channel to get more free content like this in the future. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.